Hello, everyone, and welcome to our afternoon session of the 2020 Educators Ag Institute Virtual. This afternoon is buzzing about bees, and we will be joined by Kathy Warzek. So first, we have some housekeeping to do. If you have not already done so, please complete the pretest that is in the chat box. That will help us to better see how well everything is going and that you're learning and all of that. Also, if you complete both the pretest and the post-test and attend at least 80% of the scheduled session of the scheduled time of each session, I should say, then your name will go into our drawing to win a $50 gift card to either the National Ag in the Classroom or the American Farm Bureau Federation online store. So you can get some really good resources for your classrooms. Just a reminder, the chat box is public, so please be respectful. If you do want something to show up for everyone to see, please make sure it says to all panelists and attendees. Attendees are everyone else too, so you can share ideas and everything that way. There's also a Q&A button. We'll be stopping every once in a while to ask Kathy some questions, so you can type your questions in there. We would like to thank our sponsors that you can see on the screen. They help to make everything successful for this. So today we are joined with Kathy Warzek, and I will now turn it over to her. So let's welcome Kathy.
Hey, Cass, welcome. Thank you so much for having me in today. My name is Kathy Warzek. My husband and I live in Linesville, which is in Northwest Pennsylvania, and we have an apiary. An apiary is another name for a bee farm. All right, and so our apiary right now, we're running between about 275, 300 colonies right now. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a specialization in early childhood. I also have a degree in family consumer science. I'm a substitute teacher, work for the intermediate unit in different schools, and I'm also an educator with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau's Mobile Ag Lab. All right, our beekeeping adventure began back when my daughter wanted to be an FFA, and my husband says there has to be something other than hogs and Holsteins. Let's go for it. And so they started beekeeping. She went through it. She did it with the FFA program for 5 years. When she finished, her sister came along and did it also. If we're looking at the picture, the taller girl in the picture is the second daughter. Her children are standing there beside her. They are 5 and 6 years old. That is the next generation. My husband and I are running the business right now. We have a business, and she is learning the ropes about taking it over, and then she has a couple others that are following with her that'll be able to do that also. All right, we live, like I said, we're in northwestern Pennsylvania. We produce honey. We pollinate. We move into some different crops like apples, strawberries, pumpkins, and other local crops, and pollinate for farmers. My husband deals basically with moving the colonies and taking care of the bees that way, whereas I work more on extracting, bottling, and then I take and diversify. We use our beeswax. We use bee pollen. We clean the pollen with beeswax. We can make candles, hand cream, lip balm, different things with that also. My husband does do some research with Penn State. Right now we have 2 yards up here in Northwest Pennsylvania that have 20 colonies per yard, and we're trying to figure out which queen works better, so we're working with genetics. We're not going to talk about genetics today because I want to do some fun stuff, but another possibility of this to do it, and you can ask me questions later, is genetics. All right. I'm known as the bee lady. People say that because I have the hat. I have a lot of different hats. Hopefully I'll get some on. I've got the earrings. I've got about 8 pair of shoes that have bees on them, and about 9 or 10 pair of socks that we really have fun with, and the kids can identify with that. I'm known as the bee lady. Okay. There's another picture of my husband and my daughter out there on the one picture, and one of the little ones is out there. Those are the hives that are in our backyard. We have about 80 in our backyard. This is the next generation. These are next year's bees that we are getting ready this year so that they can survive the winter, so we'll be able to use them to make honey next year. On the right-hand side is my granddaughter. All right. I'm going to talk fast here because time goes fast. However, I would like to make a couple clarifications. When I'm talking to children, I use the correct terms. I don't make things easier. I don't dummy things down because I think using the correct terms is the best thing to do. The first thing that I'm going to talk about today is the colony of bees. If I have a colony of bees, that colony is between 60 and 80,000 bees in that colony. That's in the summertime. In the wintertime, it goes down to maybe 2,000 to 4,000 bees. But they don't need all those bees because in the summertime is when they are going to be making the honey and doing the pollination, and we need to have a lot of bees. So the colony is the family of bees. It's the queen, the worker, the drone. It is the colony. The hive, on the other hand, is the home. It's where the bees live. It's their hollow tree. It's that hole in the wall. It's wherever those bees are living. We use a Langstroth hive, which was developed a little over 100 years ago by a minister in Philadelphia. And he's taken into consideration the space that the bees need, because they do need bee space, and it's how they what they need to get ready. Our bees have to be inspected by the state of Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. We have to register. We are supposed to register our bees. You don't have to, but if we register our bees, that gives us access to a bee inspector. And it also, he can come out, tell us if we have any problems. Pennsylvania has 7 bee inspectors for the state. But also, we also get notifications if PennDOT is going to be spraying a pesticide or an insecticide. They will notify us because they know the locations of where our bees are at. Okay. There are some different diseases, and if we have a chance later, we'll talk about them, but some of them are contagious, okay? Pennsylvania State Beekeeping Association is a group of beekeepers across the state. Our association years and years ago asked the state if they would provide inspectors for us. So, but if you belong, or if you have contact and would like to contact your state association, if you're not from Pennsylvania, go to your state, ask for a beekeeping association. You can also check with the extension office. Pennsylvania State Beekeeping Association does have a page. If you get on and log on to that page, they have a kids page, and they have some information that is open to the public. If you are looking for some honey, if you get on there, you click the state of Pennsylvania, click on the county where you're at, it will give you contact information about where you can purchase honey, or if you have any questions or anything else that they can help you with. Okay, little bit there. Now, I want to talk first of all about the honeybees. And the honeybees are social insects. They need the family. They need that colony in order to survive. Your wasps, yellow jackets, hornets are a solitary insect. My honeybees are social insects because they work together. Okay, bees need to go out, bring in the nectar, bring in the pollen. Somebody else has to take care of the eggs. Somebody else has to maintain the temperature and keep it either hot or cold. We have on the board right now, these are some different vocabulary that I do use. I tried to be as simple and explanatory as I could there. All right, so the first bee we're going to talk about today is my queen. My queen bee is the largest bee in the colony. She is about 3/4 of an inch long. If you're looking at the picture, she has a long tapered abdomen. If you're looking at the other bees in there, their abdomens are all short and curved, whereas the queen bee, who is in the center of that picture, is the biggest bee in the colony. She has one job. And basically one job only. She doesn't rule the crowd. She doesn't tell everybody else what she's doing or anything, but she is there to lay eggs. That's her job. She is the largest bee in the colony. She is the only fertile female in the colony, and she lays between 1,200 and 3,000 eggs a day. That's her job. That's the only thing that she does. Okay, when she's laying eggs and she's really active, she's too heavy, she can't fly. She only leaves the colony once, unless she's swarming. But that's her job, is to lay eggs. All right. Now I have a picture here of a queen that is marked, because if we have 60 to 80,000 bees in our colony, and we're looking for one bee, it's kind of looking like a needle in the haystack. Okay, so my queen bee, my marked queen, is the one that has a red dot on her back, on her abdomen, or on her thorax, excuse me. Okay, if you notice, her wing has also been clipped. This bee will not be able to fly because she has a clipped wing. Okay, but if I am looking and I am pulling my frames out of the box and looking at them, and if I'm looking for a queen bee, it's really hard to find unless you're really talented about it. So what we do is we put a dot on her back. It is a dot. It could be paint. There's different kinds of paints that we use, because the scent of some of them is offensive. And so if we take our queen bee and mark her and they don't like her scent, they'll kill her. So we need to get something that will stay on her, that the bees work with. That dot tells us that she is the queen. It also tells us how old she is. There is a national system of marking in the bees. If we take those bees and we mark that queen, and if we have a red dot on her back, that means she was hatched out in a year that ends in 0 and 5. Blue might be 1 and 6. Green is 2 and 7. Okay, it goes up. So most honeybees don't live any longer. Most queen bees don't live any longer than 5 years. Now, so that explains the dot. If you look at that picture, there's the queen, and do you see this circle of bees around her? That is called her court. These bees are worker bees. They are immature females. They will take care of her. They feed her. They groom her. They'll take her waste out. They protect her. They keep her warm. Everything else, because her job is to lay eggs. That's what she's doing, is she's laying eggs. Okay, so the other bees are taking care of her. My queen bees can live, like I said, 3 to 5 years. She mates only once, but when she slows down, and the worker bees aren't happy with the way she's laying, they will actually make a ball around her and suffocate her and actually crush her to death. At that point, they have to make a new queen. That new queen they will take between 15 and 30 eggs that the queen has laid before they killed her, and they will put them into a cell. When they move them to a bigger cell, if you look at the one, there's a little white jelly underneath it. That is called royal jelly. My worker bees make that. It comes from the mandibular glands on their head, and they feed that to all of the bees. However, the queen bee gets a lot of it. That helps her sustain her long life. That's why she will live so much longer, is because she has more royal jelly on. She's consuming more. Now the egg, they take that egg, they put it in that royal jelly. They also fill that cell with bee bread, which is nectar and pollen, and then they will cap that cell shut. If you look at the long elongated cell next to her, it looks like a little finger sticking up above on the frame. All right, that is the queen bee. It's going to take her 21 days to hatch out. When she hatches out, she's going to chew the edge off of that cell, and she's going to come out. She's going to shake herself off, and she's going to start emitting a pheromone. That is a scent that lets all the other bees know that she's now here, and that's who they're going to be listening to. She communicates through that pheromone. She wanders around the colony for 3 to 5 days, letting everybody get acquainted with her and know her scent, and then she will decide that she has to mate. She is right now a virgin queen, so as she's getting ready to go, she communicates with everybody. She's letting the drones know that she is going to be flying to mate. Her job when she flies out, she mates. She'll mate with 15 to 30 drones. Those drones are the males. And after the drones have successfully mated with her, when they go to withdraw from her, they explode. So they die. So this is my drone. Look at him. He's big. He's hairy. Boy, look at the size of his eyes. He's really, I don't know. Well, you want to know a secret? The drone is the easiest one of them because he has no stinger. He doesn't have the right mouth parts, so he can't feed himself. So he has to depend on the women to feed him, the worker bees to feed him. Okay. And like I said, when it's cold and they're not making any honey, he doesn't make honey. So when it's cold and they have no use for the men because, hey, they eat all the food, so they just kick them out. So there's no men at all in the colony in the wintertime. Okay. The only reason the male is needed is for his sperm. If you look at the big eyes on this guy, they're there for a reason. The honeybee's eyes are multi-lensed. They can see several hundred items at the same time with that eye. It's not a single vision. All right. He needs those eyes to be able to spot the queen when that queen flies out so that he can mate with her. So after he has mated with her, he dies. Okay. So this is my drone. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Sorry about this. I'd like everybody to take and make a fist with your hand. Okay, you're looking at your thumb, which is in front of your pointer finger. Do you see the flat part here on the top of your pointer finger? If you're working with somebody or with kids that are anywhere from preschool, maybe 4 years old, up until first semester of second grade, first couple months of second grade, this is really helps a lot. This is the size of your queen. So if you have this part of your finger, then this is the size of your queen. You guys are too old. It won't work for you. All right. So after we found our queen on there, we're going to make a question mark with that finger. Do you see the top flat part on that? That's the size of your drone. That's how big the drone is. So we have our queen, drone, queen, drone, queen, queen, drone. Okay, so you can do some finger activities, whatever you want. Okay, so that is my queen, who is like I said, is the only fertile female in the colony. Most colonies only have one queen at any time. If there's 2 queens in there and it's during the summer, if they meet, there'll be a fight. One of them will kill the other bee. One will kill the other queen. But there's only one queen in there. So we have our drone. Okay, my next one is going to be my worker bee. So let's get our fist up. We have our queen. We have our drone. My worker bee is from the fingernail down to the first knuckle. She's the smallest bee in the colony. There are between 60 and 80,000 in the summertime. They only live through 3 to 6 weeks, and they do all the work in the colony. They clean out the colony. They take care of the babies. They bring in the nectar. They bring in the pollen. They do everything. The guys are just freeloaders, you know. So that works. Now, my honeybees. She starts by she has 8 wax glands on the underside of her body, and she oozes flakes of wax for the first 3 to 6 days of her life. Then she has, there is a sheet in the packet that tells the lifespan of my worker bees and what jobs they do during that time. Okay, so and we'll have access to that later. Now, if you're looking at this honeybee is out on a flower. All right. If you see all of that yellow powder on her, those little flakes, those are bits of pollen. All right. When the honeybee goes down here and she flies into a flower, do you know that there are boy flowers and girl flowers? Some flowers are male, some are female, some are both. If your honeybee is going down visiting that flower, and that flower is a green bean, all right, or a dandelion, that bee is going to land on that flower. She's going to take her proboscis. Now she is really cool because her eyes are cool. They can take and they can see. Flowers give ultraviolet lights to let the honeybee know where the nectar is at. So my honeybee comes down here, visits my dandelion, is in there. It's going to take its tongue. Its tongue is a hollow tube called a proboscis, just like the butterfly. She's going to sit on that flower and she's going to be so excited, and she's going to stick out her proboscis, and she's going to go to the bottom of that flower and she's going to suck up the nectar. As she's sucking up that nectar, okay, as she's sucking up that nectar, she's so excited, and the pollen that is on that flower is going to be attracted to the hair on her body. So as she's there and she's going down, sucking up the nectar, if it is a female flower, she's going to be leaving part of the pollen that is on her body in the pistil of the female flower. That's called pollination. That's when the bee will, or that's when the flower, if it gets pollinated enough and has enough bits of pollen, it will turn into the fruit. An apple tree needs between 8 and 15 bits of pollen in order to make that successful fruit, make it pollinate. All right. So as my honeybee is coming down here, now here's some numbers for you, and they are written down somewhere. You'll get them. My honeybees fly 13 to 15 miles per hour. They fly 3 to 6 miles round trip, and they can make 6 to 9 trips a day. How many miles a day can a honeybee fly? Any questions? Honeybees can fly 50 to 55 miles a day. All right. So my honeybee is in the colony. She's chewed her way out of the cell. Her first job is going to be to clean her room. She's going to be making wax off the wax glands that are on her body. She's going to ooze flakes of wax. Other bees are going to come along, pick that wax off of their bodies and chew it, and that's how they make their honeycomb. And then they're going to, then the honeybees are going to be doing other stuff. They're going to be cleaning. They're going to be warming the colony. They're going to be babysitting. There's a lot of different jobs that they're going to be doing. But in the last part of when my honeybee, her last job is going to be, her next to the last job is going to be a guard bee. She stands at the entrance of that colony, and everything that comes into that colony, she smells. If they don't smell the same as them, they chase them off. All right. But if they are, and they're bringing goodies in, they will be allowed to go in. That is what they're doing when they're guarding. Now, when they're guarding, if something offensive comes along and they don't like it, they may sting it. My worker bees have stingers. My worker bee stinger has barbs at the end of it like a fish hook. She has to have an empty stomach. She has to arch her back. When she arches her back, her stinger will pop out of her abdomen. Then she will lower it and she will sting you. When she flies away, that stinger stays in your skin. And I tell the kids this all the time. You don't want to pinch it to take it out. You want to get it out of there as fast as you can, but you want to take your fingernail and you want to scrape it to take it out. You don't want to pinch it. At the bottom of that stinger is a poison sac. That venom sac, when it is disconnected from the bee, starts pumping and will pump the venom into your skin. Will make it sting, make it swell, make it red, make it itchy. You want to get it out of there as fast as you can so you don't get that venom. All right. When that happens, the bee's dead. The bee's going to die. She'll last maybe 15 minutes to maybe an hour, but she's going to die. There are some people that really, really like to get bee stings. I have a gentleman that we used to know that used to take 50 bee stings a week on his spine. He had MS. He swears it helped him. He was walking. When he came down to our house to visit us, he was driving his car. He was walking. So that is called apiotherapy, which is another thing that you can get into. Okay. So let's get back to my honeybee. My honeybee is coming. She's foraging. She's going out. She visits 50 to 150 blossoms every trip she makes out of the colony. So when she comes back, she's going to do a dance, a waggle. There's a couple different waggles, and they are listed also in my resources. One of them is a circle. As they're going in that circle, they're wiggling their tush. So they're going in a circle, they're wiggling their tush. And when they do that, they're communicating to other bees on the direction of the nectar, how far away that nectar is, and what kind of nectar it is. So when they come back into the colony, they're going to be dancing, and they're going to be going in a circle, and they're going to be communicating to the other bees. Other bees will rub up against them so excited, and then it's really cool because you can watch at the entrance of the hive, and all the bees will be flying out in the same direction to find this. Okay, now if we go back to the other picture of that worker bee, if we're looking at her legs, she has pollen all over her. My honeybees need pollen. It is the protein that they need. So what she's going to do is she's going to take her mouth, she's going to put pollen into her mouth, and she has 6 legs, and at the last legs are hairy. They are called pollen baskets. She's going to put pollen into those baskets on her back legs. If you look at this picture, there is pollen from the flower, and the bee has got it. So when the bee flies back to the colony, she's going to have visited between 50 and 150 blossoms. She's got nectar from all of that, so she has a full honey stomach, and she also has pollen all over her and pollen baskets. When she comes back into the hive, into that square box, we have a screen at the bottom of it at times. We don't have it on all the time, but when she climbs through that screen, it will peel the pollen off her back legs. It's moist. It's just teeny tiny little pieces like that. So we will take it. We usually put it in the deep freeze for a couple days to kill the ants and the mites and the bugs and everything else. And then we will take it and lay it out in the sun for a couple hours and let it dry. When it dries, it gets a little hard, okay? And so at that point, we go through it at that point. We either take a fan, or physically we sit there with a razor blade and we cut out every piece. So we're not putting in the ants, and we're not putting in antenna and parts of wings and everything else. Different people, especially vegetarians, are very, very aware of my pollen, because my pollen is a protein substitute. Okay, some people eat the pollen, and it gives you a lot of energy. It gives you bouncy and everything else. It smells like grass. It smells like the flowers that it's coming out of. But if you have an allergy, and say you have a spring allergy, if you can go to your beekeeper and ask them if they have spring blossom or spring pollen, that is pollen that has been collected in the springtime. So we can take that, give it to you, and you can eat it. And you only need to start with maybe a couple little specks. And then depending on your sensitivity, you're eating what you're allergic to. So what you're doing is you're building up your immunities to that. Okay, so we are, like I says, we have a lot of people that will come to us that are vegetarians and they eat pollen. You know, I found out personally, I can't eat pollen afternoon. If I do, I don't sleep at night. I'm up all night because that's the way it affects me. But that is what the pollen does. All right, I'm sitting here with my friend, my little buddy. I love this. If you can grab one that looks like this is the one that you want to get. They have another one that has big doe eyes. All right, they're stopping the manufacturing of this one, and I don't know why. So like I said, just kind of warning you. So we're going to do a little bit. We did our sizes earlier. We did our queen, our drone, and our worker. So now I'm going to do a little bit more with you. We're going to be counting. Can you guys count with me? We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've counted to 6. I'm going to tell you 6 things about a honeybee now that will help you so you'll understand more about honeybees. My honeybee has a stinger. Now, I've already told you that once they sting you, they die, so they don't want to sting you. And the guys don't have stingers at all, so they're just kind of freeloading. All right, but my stinger, she has to have an empty stomach, so she can't have anything in her stomach when she stings you. She will arch her back, the stinger will protrude out of her abdomen and will stick into your skin. All right. Now, like I said, we don't want to pinch it. We want to scrape it to get it out of there. So we have one stinger, right? A honeybee is an insect. All insects have two things. They feel, touch, taste, smell, and talk with it. What do you think they have? What do you think they've got? What do all of our insects have? They have antenna, right? So let's see our antenna. Put your antennas up there. Now, if we're in the hallway and we're not allowed to talk in the hallway, if we're using our antenna, is that talking? Is that communicating? I don't know. You have to check with your principal and your teacher on that. I don't want anybody to get in trouble for that. All right. So, ready? We have one stinger. We have two antennae. Honeybee has three of something. A honeybee is an insect, and all insects have three what? They have three body parts. You're right. They have a head. Everybody stand up and put your hands on your head. Okay, we have our head. We have our eyes, nose, ears, and mouth, right? Come on, let's get it up here. Eyes, nose, ears, mouth. Eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. Come on, guys, get with the pro. All right, eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. We'll slow down for you, okay? Now, that is what is on my honeybee's head. They have eyes. They have their antennas. They have their mouth, and their mouth has their proboscis. All right? They have little hairs all over them that kind of feel and can feel the motions. So that's our head. We have a thorax. We don't have a thorax, but my bees have a thorax. So let's put our hands right here. We have our thorax, and on our thorax, on the bee's thorax is where their wings are at. So we have our wings. Let's move, our legs. So let's move our legs. They also have wings there. All right. So we have our head. We have our thorax. All right. Now, the last part of my honeybee is called her abdomen. It's where her honey stomach's at. It's where all of her digestive system's at. It's where her stinger's at. All right. So we have our head, thorax, abdomen, head, thorax, thorax, abdomen, head, thorax, abdomen, head, antennas. Okay, make a little fun for them. Get them up there, get them going. Now, so that's our insects. So we have one stinger, two antenna, three body parts. Honeybees have four wings. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rub your hands together really fast. What's happening to your hands? They're getting hot. That's what a honeybee does. And inside a honeybee's colony, or inside their hive box, it is between 89 and 94.5 degrees all year round. So when it's warm in the summertime and it's hot outside, they reverse the direction of their wings. They're flapping, so they're like an air conditioner, and they're pushing the hot air out and cooling off the air inside the hive. When it is cold out, they're rubbing their wings together. They're also shivering next to each other to generate heat to keep that in there. Now, my honeybee has 4 separate wings. However, they have little hooks on those wings that they will hook together. When those honeybees hook those wings together, my honeybee can hover like a helicopter. She can fly up, she can fly down, she can fly forward. The really, really cool thing about the honeybee is when they leave their colony for the first time, or they leave their hive for the first time, they fly out of their house backwards. They have to be able to look at their house and identify their house to know where to go back to. All right, so we have 1 stinger, 2 antenna, 3 body parts, 4 wings. My honeybees have 5 eyes. They have 2 big eyes, one on either side of their head. Just like the drone, they are called multi-lensed eyes. They don't see one, they see a couple hundred. So if they're looking at a flower, their vision is all going to be the same flower, but they're going to be seeing several hundred of it. On top of their head, they have 3 small eyes. Those 3 small eyes on the top of their head. How many moms and dads have GPSs in their cars? Yeah, they help us get around. They tell us direction. That's what the eyes on the top of that honeybee do. They use the sun and they tell direction from the sun. All right. Now, it's their GPS. It also helps them to see in the dark. Honeybees don't fly at night. They stay in their colony or they stay wherever they're at. They can't fly because there's no light. If you take a flashlight out and put it at the entrance and the bees see it, they're going to kind of get a little frantic over that, but they're not going to go anywhere because they need that light in order to give their directions. They need that light. The eyes on the top of their head also help them to see in the dark. So when they're inside of their colony and it's dark in there, and they don't have any way to get around, they can use the eyes on the top of their head. So we have 1 stinger, 2 antenna, 3 body parts, 4 wings, 5 eyes, and a honeybee has 6 legs. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those legs will help take care of her. She even has little suction cups kind of thing on her that will help her to stay on different items while she's there. Okay? So, now, I'm going to backtrack a little minute here to the drone. This is really cool, and I forgot to tell you when I was doing this. My drone has no stinger. He is the male. He doesn't eat, doesn't feed himself, doesn't take care of himself. Another really, really cool thing for older kids, my drones are eggs from the unfertile females. My worker bees decide how many men are going to be in the colony. If they're happy with the queen and they don't need a lot of queens, or they don't need a new queen in that colony, they're not going to have many men. There can be anywhere from 3 to 5 to 800 men, depending on the condition of the queen and if they think they're going to have to replace her. Okay, so that's, like I said, I'm sorry for jumping around, but the drone is made. The queen bee is the only one that is mated and fertilized and can lay the worker bee eggs. The worker bee comes from a mated egg. Okay, the drones come from unfertilized eggs. Don't ask me how that happens. It's part of God's plan. Okay, let's stop for a minute. I've done nothing but talk for about 40 minutes. I apologize for that. But are there any questions, Cassidy?
We had one and you just answered it about how males are produced. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A or in the chat box works too.
Okay, now we're going to move on. Now I have my bees. When we are going out and we are flying around and we're making honey, this is really cool. Like I said, they fly 13 to 15 miles per hour. They fly 3 to 6 miles round trip, and they can do 6 to 9 trips a day. When they go out, they only go to one flower. All right. They will go to, if say I take my bees out and they're in an apple orchard, they're going to be working those apple trees and they're going to be getting apple nectar and bringing it back. When they ripen that, when it comes back into the hive, when they bring the nectar in, they put it into a honey stomach inside their body, and then they get back into the hive and they do their dance and they let everybody know that they have honey. They're going to take the nectar that is in their honey stomach and they are going to regurgitate it. They're going to spit it up. All right, when they spit it up, they are putting the enzymes from their stomach into that nectar. They spit it up, they give it to another honeybee who takes her proboscis, and they will meet proboscises and they will regurgitate it. And then this happens 2 or 3 times, and then the bees will put it into the cell. When they put it into the cell, it's about 99% water, percent moisture. When they put it into that cell, they have to start flapping their wings, because what they're going to do is they're going to evaporate the moisture that is in that nectar, and they're going to take it down to 16 to 18% moisture, all right, before they take the wax that they have made with their bodies and they cover the top of that cell. It's protected, it won't absorb any more liquid, so it's what we call dry honey. It's ripe, it's ready to be extracted. When we take a frame of extracted honey and we take that frame and we look at it, all of the cells on it are going to be capped with wax. What we do is we will take that from the field, bring it back to our other facility, and we have a heated knife. We take the frames and hold it up and cut off all of those cells and open all of those cells up. Then we will put it into a big spinner, kind of like a washing machine, and we will spin it, and centrifugal force will spit the honey out. It will drip down the sides of the extractor, drain out. At that point, we have a strainer we put it into. From there, it goes into a holding tank where it's put up, and it's either put into a barrel or another holding tank so that we can bottle it. Okay, but that is how we're still small enough. Like it says, we have about 275 production colonies out there right now, that we have them in different locations. We had them at apples this spring. We have a spring blossom honey, which is your apples, daisies, cherries, dandelions, locust, and clover. It's a light honey, and it's more sweet than flavorful. Usually as we get later on into the season, our honeys are going to get darker and they're going to get more flavorful. And that's nothing that the bees do to it. It is the nectar from the flowers. We have up here right now some of the different varieties of honey that are produced by we have beekeepers, we have migratory beekeepers. We have one in Pennsylvania that will take about 1,000 colonies in November, December, January, and he loads them onto flatbed trailers and drives them down to Florida and puts them into orange blossom groves. Tupelo is a very, very special honey. When your bees go in there, you have to have a license, you have to have permission from the owners of the Tupelo groves so your bees can go in there and get that honey. Tupelo honey is a really, really unique honey, is that it does not crystallize. Most of your honey will turn solid because of the sugar content. If that happens, all you need to do is put it out on the dashboard of your car, take a pan of hot boiling water, put it in, turn the heat off. When the water cools down, heat it up again, and it will come back. Do not put it into a microwave because that gets it too hot and it will kill the enzymes, and the good property of the honey is what we're looking for. With the honey and the enzymes, that's why they say do not give raw honey to an infant under the year of 1, because the enzymes in the honey itself will actually go down, and if you give it to a baby, it will combat the enzymes in their gut, and it will cause some problems there. And the honey enzymes may kill the enzymes that are in the baby. So they say wait till they're a year old. Doesn't happen that often, but there is that possibility of happening. We're looking at all the different honeys up there. We have our honeys, we do spring blossom. We have some of our honeybees in clover. My daughter just extracted filled 3.5 barrels of clover over the last couple days. Oh yeah, another thing, a honeybee only makes 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in her lifetime, and she only lives 3 to 6 weeks in the summertime. She flies her wings off. She's carrying so much weight, she's flying 50 to 55 miles a day. Her wings will start to fray, and when her wings fray and won't support her, she'll drop to the ground and she'll die there because she doesn't have any way to get back. Okay, so that's making the honey. Now we're going to go back to how we get a new hive. There's 60 to 80,000 honeybees in a colony. When they get too crowded and too cramped and they need to go somewhere else, they make a new queen. Now this queen, they will take and they will make her. And when they make her, she will fly out, she will mate, she'll come back and she'll say, you know what, guys, this place is too small. I'm going to blow this joint. So what she does is she will take about half the bees in that colony with her and she will leave. When she flies out, she'll find a tree branch, she'll find somewhere to rest. And as she rests, all these other bees are around her and they're making a ball around her, but they are protecting her. They're taking care of her. The ones on the outside of that hive, outside of that ball, are going out and they're flying in all different directions. They're looking for a new place to come live. They're looking for a new place to establish a colony. All right. When they find something, they'll come back and they communicate that with pheromones and they're waggling. And it's really cool because they will just get up and it's just like a big black cloud and it sounds like a freight train. And they'll fly off to their new place where they're going to go. The first time that they have a swarm out of a hive, and it's a really good, healthy hive, the swarm can anywhere be from the size of maybe a basketball, maybe even a little bigger. But if they make several queens, then those queens, each one when they leave, if they're taking half of half, that leaves the half. And then if they're taking half of half, it's a quarter. I've gone out sometimes and collected maybe about this much of a swarm. There's a queen in there and part of the worker bees have left with her, but we really have to build that up in order to get anything. Okay, and that's where we do feed. We take sugar syrup when there's a dearth, and that's another vocabulary word, dearth. Dearth is when there's no blossoms blooming or very few blossoms blooming and the bees aren't interested in working them. They will consume the honey that they've already made. And so we want to take that honey, or we want to give them, we've already extracted that honey, so they need something to live on. So we will take sugar syrup, half and half water, half sugar, and we feed them a thick syrup until there's something else in blossom. And then the bees will just forget that syrup and we'll go out and we'll start working the blossoms. Okay? Any questions?
Yes, we have a couple. Where did you get your bee, the stuffed bee?
The stuffed bee? Go online. Like I said, I don't know if they have them anymore. The name of it is Folkmanis Puppets. Folkmanis Puppets.
Oh, right.
There is another one out there, like I said, that has big doe eyes, but instead of having the 6 legs, she only has 5 legs because it is a glove puppet. I don't like that one, but but that's the one. I don't know why they've gone to that one. I think for science purposes. The hat, I'm not sure where the hat comes from. Just get on. I usually don't tell people where I get the hat because they want to get one, and I'll say, oh, I just got it at a bee convention. The hat I was wearing earlier, like I said, I had a friend, one of my antenna broke off, so she made me a hat. Let's see, anything else we need to do? Anything else? We okay for questions right now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If someone goes from farm to farm pollinating, how do they know if pollination has actually taken place?
The bees take care of it. When we go down to a couple pumpkin farms. And what's really cool is the vine plants, the pumpkins, the zucchini. Bumblebees pollinate also, but they can't get down into the base of that flower for the pumpkin and the zucchini. Only the honeybee is small enough to get down in there to get the pollen and transfer it between blossoms. Okay. But when we take our bees, we take them up to apple orchards. The apple orchards will be in bloom. We go up there, we set our bees in there. Usually they're there for probably 7 to 9 days. When that blossom is done blooming, they will call us, and when the blossoms start to fall off the trees, the petals, they call us and say, hey, come in and get your bees out, because at that point, my orchard growers have to get in there and spray. So when the fruit is set, they're killing all the bugs and the worms that can get in and nest in the core of the tree. Does that make sense?
I think so.
You know, but the honeybees usually focus on, they focus on one blossom. You won't find them going to apples, daisies, cherries, and dandelions all at the same time. Each blossom blooms for 7 to 12 days. When that's done, I mean, your dandelions, you may hate them in the springtime, but they're only around for about a week and a half. Okay, when they're done, you're going to get little puff balls, but that's what the bees are going to focus on, is that dandelion. And yes, my bees have made dandelion honey before, and it tastes exactly like it smells, dandelions. But we usually let them keep the dandelion honey because that's the first blossom out in the springtime. And so they need that to kind of get jump started. So the queen starts laying eggs, and, you know, and everybody gets excited because they're making that. We're small enough, we handle about 10, 12 different varieties of honey. We go for black locust. If you can get some black locust honey, your after bid on that tastes like warm melted marshmallows. You know, and then you go to the spring blossom and the clover, and then we have Japanese knotweed. Japanese knotweed is a very, very dark honey. It's a red bamboo. But it has a lot of resveratrol in it, which is the same thing that's in red grape skins and helps with a person's circulation. We have people that have carpal tunnel and different circulation problems that primarily use the Japanese bamboo. We have buckwheat. Buckwheat is the darkest honey. It has a more robust taste. It's not a sweet honey as much as it's a flavorful honey. It's more flavorful. A lot of people don't like it. That's fine. It's a great baking honey. It's a great honey to use when you're barbecuing or things like that. Goldenrod. Goldenrod, if you have an allergy to goldenrod, you probably should start taking a local raw goldenrod honey, probably about the 1st of July. Start out with a couple drops. Again, the same thing. You know, your body is going to build up an immunity to that, so you're not going to have that that reaction as long as you build up your immunities to that. Okay, we have connections with different people. We're on the Pennsylvania State Beekeeping Association. My husband was past president. We have, like I said, there's a guy down in the middle of Pennsylvania who takes his bees, goes to Florida, stops and does Tupelo honey, then goes out and does almond honey in California. Then he will go up to Washington State and do raspberries. He comes back across the northern tier. He does alfalfas. He may pick up some clovers. He may stop in Wisconsin and get cranberry, which I didn't know this. I thought Maine was #1 cranberry, but Wisconsin is. He will come back across. He may catch some apple blossoms. It all depends on where you put the bees as to what kind of nectar they're going to get. Okay. There is also, Cass has some listings of ag accurate books that are for good information. When I go in, I do a demonstration. You know, we do the bit with acting out the hive. We do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and everything else. If I have time, I do read a book with them, an ag accurate book. I make sure that the book is accurate. Every book that I list on this, I have a copy of, and I like it. I love Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus, but there is one copy. There's 2 different copies out there. There's one that's insects and there's ones that honeybees. And one of them, and I can't remember, excuse me, for the life of me right now, one of them I do not like because it gives misleading information. Okay, there you go. There's your beekeeping books. Buzzing Around the Hive on the first page. It is Explorations in Math and Science. It's by the University of California at Berkeley. They've got lesson plans. They've got all different sorts of things in there. Like I says, all of these books, some of them are for older kids, some are for preschool, you know, different things like that. If you want to bring something into your classroom, bring bees into your classroom, possibly there might be an observation hive. If we're looking back here, this is an observation hive. This is a 4-frame observation hive. There's a tube that goes out the wall. Outside, so we can watch them. The queen is marked in here, so we can see when the bees come back. We can watch them waggle. We can see what pollen they have on them, because all of your pollens are different colors and everything. But we can see the queen. We can keep track. We know how she's working. Some state associations or some local beekeepers may have observation hives. They may be more than willing to bring it into you and share it with you in the classroom. Like I says, contact your extension offices, contact your state associations, see if they do have beekeepers. You know, there may be even beekeepers locally that aren't involved in an association. You know, local. That's where the networking helps out, and that's where you're going to have to go to for that. Haagen-Dazs ice cream used to have a fantastic thing on theirs. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, they use fresh fruits. Well, where do you get your fresh fruits from? You have to have honeybees to pollinate. So they had on there, I'm not sure if it's still there, but Haagen-Dazs ice cream, on their website, they used to have a honeybee fun page. If you go to the American Beekeeping Association, AFB, American Federation of Bees, they have different worksheets, different activities like that. I've given you several different worksheets. I've given you my lesson plans that I use. There's times if I'm talking to a high school class or an older class, teachers will invite me in. I usually spend a week in that class. When I'm in there, I will take in my hive boxes. I will take in different things. We do tasting. We do a lot of different things. One of the really cool things I did is I actually had a 8th grade class that we figured out who was going to be the queen and everything, and they went outside and they pollinated, and they had the most fun time. And I've had kids come back to me a couple years later and say, hey, I remember when we did this, you know, different things like that. Okay, any other questions?
Let's do one more question and then we'll have to wrap up. Do you know of any maybe either national or local grants that could help a school obtain some hives, or any resources to help get through the red tape of getting those?
I would personally go through a bee association. I know our local association, we have a couple young guys or young kids that want to come up into bees, because most of the beekeepers are getting older. We actually will provide them with the guidance and the equipment to get them started. We have given out a couple observation hives, or not observation hives, we have given out a couple beehives to different places, but we like to recommend that there be a known beekeeper to go with that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you do, I would try Walmart. Walmart has some educational, used to have some educational grants that they could do things like that. Contact your extension offices. They are wealths of information in there if they know of any grants. If you go through the Wildlife Game Commission, sometimes they have some also. One thing that's really, really cool, we cannot put our bees on any game commission properties because we would be making a profit off of their products, their crops they make on it. Okay, Bear is another one. Bee Health, I think Bear has some stuff that they do. But if you get onto beekeeping, you know, just get onto beekeeping, that will give you, I know in Pennsylvania, there is Gamber, which is down near Harrisburg. We go to Blue Sky, which is up in Ravenna, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half from our house. Different, I mean, you know, there's different places. If you get a hold of a beekeeper that is willing to work with you, The only problem that may happen is, I mean, I had an ag teacher once that has 3 beehives ready to put out. And when the school found out, when the parents in the school found out about it, oh, no, 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 my kid's going to get stung. I can't have that. I don't want that problem. You may run into that problem. You know, I mean, that's just a fact. Somebody's going to get stung eventually. I have had life skills kids out here. I've had a busload of life skills kids. I think there was 14 in that bus, and they come out and a couple of them were autistic. And it says, remember, you know, if a bee sits on you, don't move, just let it and it'll fly away. And this one little is it was a very, very high level autistic, and the bee landed on him and he just froze. And it was so cool because the bee must have only been there about 20 seconds, but it was just like a puddle. When that bee left him, he just melded right into the ground. You know, we had a summer school program once that the school called and they says, we'd like to bring the kids out. My husband says, well, fine, but you have to realize there are bees. There is the possibility of getting stung. So they were planning on 60 kids, and they brought a huge school bus out. And once they let it be known that there was bees going to be here, we had 12 kids. The principal had come out on his motorcycle. He was all set. You know, they come out here. We took them on a tour, didn't even put any gear on them, but they were out. They were out looking. We didn't have them close to the hives, but they were out looking at the hives. I had them in extracting and showing them what we were doing in there. And there's bees flying all over, and nobody got stung. They went back to the classroom, and about a week and a half later, my husband gets another call from the same teacher, and she says, we would like to bring another class out. And Charlie said, well, okay. And I mean, we don't have, remember, there are bees. They brought out 22 cars. They brought out a busload of kids. And I mean, they were out there, and, you know, I mean, we did the same thing with them, and no one got stung. So, you know, you just have to learn how to not to agitate them, but a lot of people are going to say, oh no, my kid's never been stung before and I don't want him to get stung, and you know, all this stuff's going to happen. So you've got to kind of be aware of that. The ag teacher, even though he offered to put his bees on the roof of the school in the back, he still had problems with the parents. He had a couple very vocal parents that refused to let their kids go to school if there were bees on the property. So, you know, you have to kind of play it there. You know, I hope I answered the question.
I think so. That was some very good advice and a good story. Okay. I think it is time for us to wrap up. So thank you, Kathy, so much for joining us and sharing all of your resources. Everyone, you will get, Kathy has a ton of resources we didn't even get to for you.
Yeah, there's a lot on there. Yeah, like I said, on the one page, and I don't even think we showed it, there is a picture of, I didn't even talk about the jackets or anything else in the hive parts. There's my name and addresses on there. So, you know, feel free, you know, to call me. I'm not sure if my website's on there or not. I know Cass can put it on there if we need it. But
If people would like to contact you either about information or visits, is that okay? And
sure,
if so, what's the best way to contact you?
Email, and that's why I'm saying if you want to share my email data with them, I will get back. I will get back. Because of COVID this year, things are slowed down, but usually we're getting ready for our county fair, and it's a 9-day event, and you know, I mean, so give me a chance. Also, in that swarm picture Cass was showing you, I can go out and get those if somebody calls me with a swarm. I have a vacuum that I go out and it's a low level vacuum. We can suck the bees up, and you know, I mean, other beekeepers do it different ways. There's different ways of doing it, but you know, and that's I went one time, I had a little kid in kindergarten that I did a presentation, and she went home and found a bee swarm in her front yard. And so her mom and dad had to call me, which they knew me. And I went over and I let her pick up the swarm. I let her suck it up. And, it was just magic. It was just, just really cool. So yeah, I mean, feel free to call or to contact me. I have no problems with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone else for attending as well. Please complete the post test. It'll help show how much you learned. And we will see you all soon.
You're going to tell me to buzz off? Come on, tell me to buzz off, Cass. Come on, come on, come on. Nobody's done that today.
I feel mean. Buzz off, Kathy.
Thank you. See, I missed that. Nobody's done that to me today. I can say we can go swarming later, but we're not in the same area. So, okay. I've heard them all. I've heard them all.
Also contact Kathy for bee jokes.
Oh yeah, I got them too.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you. Oh, we have a couple of the comments. Keep on buzzing. Be well. Thank you, and buzzing off. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Kathy.
Hey, thank you. This, like I said, this is my love. This is my job.
All right. Well, goodbye, everyone.
Thank you lots.
Thank you.
Sure enough. Bye.